Hello and welcome to the Royal Blue podcast with me, Ian Croll. We're live on YouTube and alongside me for this Aston Villa match preview, we have Connor O'Neill. Connor, how are things? All good?
Very well, thank you, Ian. Very well. It's the start of a new year, isn't it? The new dawn for Everton Football Club tonight as David Moyes takes charge of Everton for the second time, of course. Obviously, haven't done so previously back in 2002. But yeah, a bit of excitement, I think, a bit of eagerness to get to Goodison Park to see what's ahead of us.
Absolutely, yeah. I think most Evertonians will be looking forward to the match tonight. Take it you're going.
I am indeed, yes. I'll be in the press box alongside Joe Thomas and Chris Beasley. So yeah, it's going to be a real interesting one, isn't it? I think Goodison's going to be rocking. I think Moyes gave a bit of a call to arms, didn't he, on Monday in his press conference? About getting behind the team and getting getting the best out of the lads. And I think Goodison will respond tonight. I think we'll see a different atmosphere to what we've seen so far this season.
Absolutely. Just so everyone knows, obviously you can. For those who usually watch the podcast on YouTube, you can see that me and Connor aren't in the studio today. We're at home. Basically, Connor's put a personal request in to do this podcast today, which I'm made up with. It's actually his day off. I'm having to work from home due to childcare issues. So when Connor said, "Can we do a match preview pod?" I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So just in case you were wondering why we're not in the studio, that is the reason, and we've set it up to be video call, video remote, whatever way you want to call it. But today's agenda, Aston Villa match preview, which incidentally will only be exclusive to the YouTube channel. This audio won't be going on any of the audio platforms. So if you're only just joining now, or if you're joining a bit later on and you listen back and you want to listen to it later on the audio platforms, then it won't be available. It'll only be available on video. I've just got too much today. Childcare, other work issues that I'm not going to be able to upload it to the pod. And it's a very short space of time, very quick turnaround as well. So, but as usual, give us a thumbs up, drop the video a like. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. We are live, which is good. We've been able to bring you a live feed. So as usual, get in touch. Drop a comment on the live stream. I'll keep an eye out for them as best I can, and I'll try and read them out. I guess, Connor, there's still a little bit of Everton news that we probably it's best that we address first before we go into the match preview. So I'll get your thoughts on it. This morning, Sean Dyche, Everton's former manager, he was sacked on Thursday, 3 hours before kickoff, 3 hours before the Peterborough FA Cup game. He's released a statement via the League Managers Association. So you can. It's not a long statement, but I'm not going to read it all out. And if you do want to read it, if you haven't seen it yet, you can go to my Twitter because I've posted it on that. So that's at Ian Croll1. You'll be able to find it there. But I will just read a short snippet, Connor, and then just get your reaction to it. I mean, to be fair, I feel really bad because I shouted at Joe Thomas on Friday for bringing Sean Dyche up all the time, and now I'm just going against my word. I'm bringing Sean Dyche up again. So basically, a snippet from the statement. Dyche has said, "The right time has come for me to leave the club with the team in good shape. David is a manager who I have great respect for, and I believe he and his staff will help to push the club forward. Again, I wish everyone well going forwards, including the new owners, who I hope will take the club to the next level and deliver the success which every Evertonian wants." Yeah, just your thoughts on that, Connor, I guess, on that statement from former manager Sean Dyche.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, isn't it? Because I think it backs up the reports and what was widely expected, and that Sean Dyche should kind of indicated Fred Kinsey taking the club as far as he could in their meeting last week. I think that kind of backs up that point now, doesn't it? Because the line, I've taken the club as far as it was the right time for me to go. It does scream a little bit like he admits that he's at the end of the road himself, and that perhaps ran out of ideas, and perhaps his ideas weren't quite sticking. I think it's a very classy statement from Sean Dyche. I think it's quite cordial. Clearly, it's quite clearly a mutual thing. This in terms of probably a change was needed, but perhaps he knows more than anyone that a change was needed. And I think he probably accepts that David Moyes is a good manager, experienced manager who will come in and, like we all hope, will do a really good job.
What do you make then of? I don't want to completely analysed the statement, but what did you make of his comment where he seems to say, well, he said, I've left the team in good shape.
Yeah, I think with that, I mean, that can be interpreted in many ways, can't it? Because, you know, people look at that and go, well, look at where the team are and stuff. But I suppose his thing will be that, well, he's managed to assemble teams over the last 2 years that's been good enough to stay in the Premier League. And that's obviously been his number one priority, hasn't it? You know, when he came in, it was to keep the club up. Last year, it was essentially to keep the club up after they were hit with the punch deduction. And this year, you know, if we're all being honest, and I think I've said it myself on numerous occasions, this squad shouldn't go down. You know, there's some very good players in this squad. Perhaps Sean Dyche hasn't managed to get the best out of them players so far this season, but there's some very talented players within this squad. So I can see where he's coming from. I know people who look at that and scrutinise it a little bit and be like, how could he say that? Look what's occurred. But I do think, you know, he'll look at it and say, well, I managed to put a team together that preserved his Premier League status 2 years running. That was my main objective when I come into the football club. That was what the club wanted me to do, and that's what I achieved. And I think that's what he'll be basing them claims on.
Just on Sean Dyche himself, then, do you think he will easily pick up another job in the Premier League? I mean, I'm sure he'll want a break, certainly after the 2 years that he's had. I'm sure he's never faced pressure like that in his career, and I think it was telling and it showed. But yeah, do you expect him to go? Fully expect him to go back into management in some form?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, he will get offered the job at some point, only because he's he is what he is. He's an experienced, you know, Premier League Championship winning manager. Because, you know, you look at the Championship, he's got 3 promotions out of there. So he's someone who knows how to get into that, how to get out of there and get into the Premier League. So that's a massive, you know, tick in the box. Obviously, experienced in the Premier League, he'll get another job. There's no doubt about that. You know, there will be clubs out there who will get to a point where they'll feel like Sean Dyche perhaps is the right person to come in and save them and help do what, you know, he'd done a little bit with Everton in the sense of coming in and managing to keep the Premier League status. Obviously, quite interesting, wasn't it, that when I think it was 24 hours of his exit being confirmed, he was the favourite for the Rangers job, where, you know, Phil Clement under massive pressure up there. So who knows? Maybe it could be like a Rangers job for him next, something different. But yeah, I think Sean Dyche he'll be a man in demand at some point soon. You suspect? I think there'll be clubs out there who'll be looking at Sean Dyche thinking he could come in and do a really good job for us.
Certainly an interesting take that he could pick up a job in Scotland with either with the Rangers or Celtic. Do you think that's something that he'd look to? Do you think, or
they follow the trend, wouldn't it? Because if you look in recent memory, it's amazing some of the jobs that sacked Everton managers have gone on to get after being sacked by the football club. So it will continue that trend, that's for sure. But I think he would be interested to take the Rangers job. Look, I think, you know, Rangers is a huge football club, isn't it? You know, it's one that plays in Europe every season. It's one that challenges for major honours. It sounds like there's a lot of work to be done there. I think Philip Clement is under massive pressure. The squad, I don't think, doesn't sound too great. So there's one way there's a lot of work to do, but I'm sure he'd love the chance to go to manage Rangers, because I think it'd be something totally different for him to what he's experienced before in terms of, you know, having to come into football clubs and predominantly just getting to keep them in the Premier League.
Just having a look there through some of the comments, which I'll read out now. So John Jones says, not sure he left us in good shape. We're near the bottom. Terry Dactyl Spontaneous, yeah, that is a YouTube name, says, it was never personal with Dyche. He simply was not winning games. It was starting to get serious and he just wasn't winning. Danny Church, I thank Dyche for the first 18 months, keeping us up under the circumstances. Interesting take here, James McDade. Afternoon, gents. Dyche to be Liverpool's next manager. he is a renowned well-known Liverpool fan, according to him himself.
I mean, that would be quite the development, wouldn't it? I just don't quite see that happen. Certainly not anytime soon, anyway. That's for sure.
Maybe if Liverpool end up in some sort of relegation dogfight in the next couple of years, you never know.
Yeah, I think we're a long way off that, though. Just now.
Yeah. Okay. PSR. Just talk about that before we move on to the match preview. Everton not at risk of breaching PSR for the relevant counter period. So good thing, obviously, Connor. That I think that news came out yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, yesterday morning it broke to it that Everton and no other Premier League club, which is quite interesting. I thought no other Premier League club have been. Obviously, there's the closing around the Leicester City case, but as it stands now, no other Premier League club, including Everton, will face any sort of punishment for failing PSR for last season, which, for Everton is great relief, I suspect, and testament to a lot of the hard work that people behind the scenes, and probably led by Kevin Farewell, is the main person, testifies their hard work. This, because I can imagine it's been very tough to get within the boundaries, and obviously people like Cameron Onana had to be sold in and plays like that. So it's testament to their hard work that Everton have managed to come through this last season all clear and in the good, because I know Joe Thomas, our esteemed colleague, wrote quite recently that there was a growing confidence within the football club that they'd be okay, that they wouldn't breach PSR. But obviously, when it's Everton, you always have that little bit of nerves, don't you? That little bit of anxiety of like, well, are we 100% okay? Because obviously we've seen firsthand the effects that the punishment can bring in terms of the points deduction. But no, it was a great relief that Everton were clear yesterday, and we can just crack on now as normal, and we know where we stand, and we know what's needed and what we need to do to preserve our Premier League status.
I mean, we know that this transfer window in January is still going to be tough. There's going to be restrictions to an extent on what we can spend, but I think, without stating the obvious, that's why it's really so important that Everton stay in the Premier League. I mean, it's important anyway, but it's important that Everton are in the Premier League come the summer, because it really is like a fresh start, isn't it? I know we've got the new owners in already, we've got the new managers in, but at least then, heading into the summer, if we know that we're going to be safe, and we end up being safe, that the new owners, obviously the new manager, don't know what the situation is going to be with the director of football, but they can start planning, and there will be money to spend in the summer, because we're over that. What was that devastating accounting period within the past 2 to 3 years, wasn't it? So it's just vital now that we get enough points to keep us in the Premier League.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that is the biggest thing, isn't it, moving forward, that Everton need to remain a Premier League football club no matter what happens come the summer. It's absolutely crucial, because, like you say there, in terms of like the next stage of development now under the Fredkins, obviously, Sean Dyche has gone, David Moyes has come in, but there is going to be a big, huge player turnover this summer. It's 12 players, I think it is, out of contract. If you include the loan players, you suspect, as we sit here now, not all of them 12 will be offered deals or will be coming back to the football club next season. So when you take that into consideration, that just shows the scale of the task facing David Moyes and his coaching staff, and Kevin Farewell, if he is to remain in place, or a new sporting director or a new director of football. And I think the big thing in all this is we need to try and get safe and know that we're in the Premier League as early as we possibly can to start that planning, because you don't, I know that Sean Dyche's first season, for instance, when we stayed up against Bournemouth on the last day, I know because of how late we stayed up that season, that could put the club a little bit on the back burner for the summer that came, because obviously, they had 2 listed targets, because obviously, you go down, you've got to deal with the devastation of relegation. Certainly at that point, it would have hit Everton hard because of the finances involved. So obviously, the type of player that you're going to bring in changes dramatically. The type of player that you'll be able to, attract the football club changes dramatically, because you're no longer a Premier League club, a Sky Bet Championship club. So the big thing for Everton, I think, is obviously they've got to get safe, they've got to stay up, but you've got to try and stay up as early as you can to get plans in place and start, identifying targets and working towards getting them targets through the door as early as can, because it's going to be a big summer. This, I mean, we often talk about big summers and the hope that players are going to come and go, etc. But this is going to be one, because of the contract situation, and simply by the fact that Everton are going to have to bring players in the summer. There's no doubt about it. They're going to need to improve the squad. David Moyes is going to want to improve the squad. I thought it would be quite interesting where he said, we've got an elite stadium now, we need to start getting some elite players through the door. Well, that started this summer, really. Obviously we've got January now, but I think we all accept that, not much is probably going to happen. 1 or 2 deals might occur, you don't know, but we're not going to see anything wholesale. And obviously that isn't just PSR related, if we're being honest. Obviously we've seen in recent years, it's actually quite hard to get players through the door in January unless you spend big money on them, because a lot of clubs are reluctant to let their better players go this time of year, given, we're halfway through the season. So this summer is huge, and I think Everton need to be in the Premier League, or no, their Premier League club next season, to have the best possible chance of making this coming summer a success.
I did find it interesting. I'm not suggesting anything here, by the way. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but the fact that Premier League club has seemingly not breached. I'm not sure whether the Premier League itself would have fancied or had the stomach for another legal battle if a club had breached. But I mean, it's not going to go away, this PSR stuff. We know things are changing, but surely, clubs have still got to be careful up until that point that the recalculation of revenue and everything is basically changed.
Yeah, I mean, there's two ways you can look at it, isn't there? I think with respect, on one hand, you have our clubs now just really compliant because they've seen, firsthand the tough nature of what occurs if you don't abide by the PSR rules. You'll be deducted points, and if everyone's seen Forest and Everton deducted points, and they start acting accordingly, or are we now the cynic and us thinking, well, it's almost like the Premier League made their point, they punished two clubs, and now it's kind of like let's just crack on and leave things as they were, and we don't want to get stuck in legal wrangles with clubs over what is going on. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one. What happens next season? I think if everyone is clear again next season, then you would suggest that it is a bit of a case of clubs have actually wised up and realised that the consequences to failing PSR are huge, i.e. in terms of points deduction, and they no longer want to, they don't want to breach that. And given how tight the Premier League is, you look at someone like Crystal Palace, for instance, if they were to breach PSR and they deducted 4 points, that puts them in big trouble. So you wonder whether clubs are thinking along them lines now, think about the consequences are so severe, which have got to act accordingly. But I do understand where some Everton fans yesterday were quite clearly saying, the Premier League have made their point. We've once again been the four guys. We'll never ever see a club fail PSR again. But the Premier League got their joy because they deducted points off us. I can't see where some of them arguments come from.
We're getting told to start previewing the Aston Villa match because PSR is boring. But I have just got one more question on PSR before we do. What do you make, or what are your thoughts on the fact that Forest kind of knowingly breached or purposely breached, managed to survive relegation even after a points deduction last season, and are now quite clearly reaping the benefits of heavy investments in the squad?
Well, we don't know that, though, do we? That's the problem, isn't it? It's so cloudy, and the judgment's so cloudy. It's so.
Well, they knew they were going to breach with the guy that went to Spurs. God, I've forgotten his name now.
Brennan Johnson.
Brennan Johnson. They purposely didn't sell him because they said that they would have got a better price further down the line. Now, whether that's right or wrong, just a matter of opinion. But I think the point is that they're certainly reaping the rewards, aren't they?
They are, yeah. But I mean, they're also very effective football team, aren't they, Forest? They're very, very, very good at doing the basics. So that also helps them. And they've also got something that Everton have got in a centre forward who can't stop scoring goals. So that does help. But yeah, but they Forest were punished though, weren't they, last season? They did get punished last season. So and that nearly sent them down. When you think about it, last season how tight it was, and they were. Do you think that game back in April when they come to Goodison, it was a bit of a relegation 6 points, which Everton managed to win 2-0. But Forest looked like they were fighting. Forest were fighting for their lives at the time, and so I can understand the argument, but I just think it's one of them, isn't it? I think they were punished, and we'll never quite know how much they're benefiting off the back of that breach in PSR, or whether it's just a case of Nuno's got players in the pitch who are running through brick walls from them, and they've got a centre forward who can't stop scoring goals.
Okay, let's talk football then. I think, should we start with the formation on what we think David Moyes is going to do? I mean, I guess it's a guess, prediction, whatever way you want to call it, but what formation do you think Moyes is going to utilise? I mean, I was trying to do a bit of research before we came on, because I didn't really watch West Ham as much as obviously what you would watch Everton. So I'd say during his time at West Ham, Moyes ironically tended to go through 4-4-2. What is it? 4-2-3-1. The same as what Sean Dyche would have gone for. So just see Moyes sticking with what he knows, sticking with what Sean Dyche has done previously, or do you expect, not expect, but do you think he'd maybe experiment to an extent and try something a bit different?
I think we'll see very much more of the same. I think the thing you got to look at is, in talking about formations and tonight and stuff like that, is what players are available to David Moyes. The big question for me is, does he roll the dice and go 4-4-2 and play Beto and Calvert-Lewin together as a two? But I'm sure people at the club will be telling him that has been done before, and it's been nothing short of a disaster because it just doesn't work. So if he listens to them warnings, then it leaves him literally only playing 4-2-3-1, doesn't it? Because or 4-4-1-1, whichever way you want to look at it, because it's going to be them either Beto or Calvert-Lewin up top to lead the line. So I think we'll see more of the same in terms of formation setup. I can't see anything drastically changing. I would be very surprised if we see 5 at the back or 3 centre backs like we saw on Thursday night against Peterborough. I'd be surprised if we saw that. But then again, we could be in for a total shock. Could become, what time will team news drop tonight? About 6:15. Team news will drop. We could be in for a total shock if, Jake O'Brien does start alongside maybe James Tarkowski and Jared Bramthwaite and Nathan Patterson's right wing back, and who knows. So I wouldn't be surprised. I think I'd be surprised if it wasn't 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-1-1 with one centre forward. Because like I say, the only option he can do if he wants to play more than one forward is play Beto and Calvert-Lewin together. And I think we all know that just doesn't work. And it's and also as well, if he does do that, it leaves him massively short on the bench, because it means that if it's not going well and he needs to take one of his centre forwards off, he doesn't have someone else to bring on, because obviously Brozier's sidelined and Schmitty's sidelined, so he's got a real lack of attacking options. So I think it'll be very much a case of what we've seen so far this season in terms of a tactical setup.
Just a quick word on Ndiaye then. Obviously, there's been a lot of calls for him to be playing as the number 10 role. Sean Dyche didn't think that he was best suited to play there. He's been playing on the left-hand side. I guess with Ndiaye, it would be difficult right now to play him as the number 10, because I guess if we had McNeil available and fit, he would be the natural person to play on the left, and then Ndiaye could be pushed into the middle. But if Ndiaye doesn't play on the left, there's not really a natural to replace him. I guess you could say Lindstrom could go over there, cut inside. I think that is definitely an option. So maybe moving forward, you think David Moyes would go against what Sean Dyche would think, and Ndiaye would be pushed over to the number 10 role if he keeps that obviously same formation. I mean, as well, just to add to that question, there's been a train of thought that Ndiaye should maybe play as a second striker in a 4-4-2 alongside Calvert-Lewin. What are your thoughts on that as well?
I think long term we could definitely see something like that happening. I think long term I wouldn't be surprised to see Ndiaye perhaps play off Calvert-Lewin as a second striker, stroke number 10, and I'd be all for that, because I have long thought that we should be, Sean Dyche should look to freshen things up in that way. I just think tonight, given the personnel and what's available, as around through there, obviously McNeil, I think his touch and goal maybe is McNeil for tonight. He's out, isn't he? Sorry, he's out.
He's unavailable, definitely.
He's definitely unavailable. So
it's to be honest, it sounds mid to long term. So I don't think he.
Yeah, I thought that was a little bit like, obviously in the a lot what happened on Monday's press conference, and there was a lot because it went on for a long time, and Moyes spoke about a lot of issues, but that was one thing that made me think that his words on McNeil indicates that this could be a lot longer than what we all thought it was going to be. If that's the case, I do think it's hard to see how Ndiaye does go and play in the middle, because just again, personnel issues, isn't it? Unless he plays Harrison on one side and Lindstrom on the other. I mean, he might work up to that. You don't know. I mean, he might start Ndiaye on the left tonight. Things might not work, and he might change things around and put Ndiaye behind Calvert-Lewin or Beto on Sunday against Tottenham. We don't know. He could go to 3 at the back. He could play with 3 centre backs and play with maybe Nathan Patterson and someone else at a left wing back and move Ndiaye in the middle that way. That perhaps might be a trail for him. But I just think tonight we'll see Ndiaye on the left. I can't see how he gets in the middle of the pitch, just simply because the personnel and injuries that are going to affect squad selection.
personally, I'd be very surprised if he didn't do something slightly different. Do you know what I mean? I don't know
Well,
what that's going to be.
you've always got to think he's got to do something different, haven't you, if that makes sense to...
No, exactly. That's exactly my point, because what's gone on before previously clearly hasn't worked, and it's a change of some sort. Whether it's an O'Brien in for a Tarkowski, like that's probably a little bit harsh on Tarkowski, but just a little change, because I feel like if he picks almost the same 11 that you would expect the Sean Dyche to, the crowd are going to be up for it tonight. It's quite clear the atmosphere is going to be bouncing. It's a night game anyway, so it should be, rightly so. But the fact that Dyche is gone, we've got a new manager in, David Moyes. I think if he does the exact same thing as what Sean Dyche does, I think there'll be somewhat of a bit of a disappointment. So it's near enough impossible to try and predict what David Moyes is going to do, but it has to be a slight tweak, a slight alteration. Again, whether it's a Patterson in for a Young, or whether he sticks, like you've just said, with the three at the back. I know it was Peterborough, lower league side, no disrespect to them, but I felt like that did work with the players that were in there. I mean, according to Leighton Baines, Sean Dyche picked that team, so fair enough. But I know me and Gav have potentially advocated for the three at the back in certain games.
Maybe Sean Dyche was listening to the series all along.
Maybe.
If he'd listened earlier, he might still be in the job.
Yeah, I mean, just right now, this is a good fit, isn't it, Connor? Surely, like this managerial appointment. Moyes was a good fit for Everton back in the day. It was 13-year reign. Right now, his second stint, this is a good fit again. There was no one else out there, realistically, where you think he's ahead of David Moyes. We keep saying he's a safe pair of hands. I don't think it's wrong in saying that, and I don't think it's a detrimental thing to say that he's a safe pair of hands. He's a safe pair of hands because we know he's an experienced manager. He knows what he's doing. We believe that he can get us out of this mess that we've got ourselves into.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was the number one. He was the number one target for the Fredkin group, and I think he was the number one target for a lot of fans. And I think the big telling point for this is probably more of a damning indictment on the position Everton find themselves in. I think we spoke about this recently on Monday about there has been other times where he's nearly come back to the football club where a return has looked like it could be on the cards. I actually think if he'd have come back at them 2 times, the fan reaction would have been a lot different to what it's been this time round. I think back then people might have been a little bit like, why are we going back? Why aren't we looking forward? Why aren't we going attracting a high-profile European coach? We've got to have all this money. We went to have all this, blah, blah, blah. Whereas I think now, I know there's been 1 or 2 gripes, but vast majority of supporters I've spoken to, vast majority of supporters I've seen give their verdicts on this. They're all in support. It was unanimous faith that they all want David Moyes back. But what I will say is there are going to be bumps in the road in this. It's not going to be plain sailing. And while the nostalgia has been great, and I'm sure we've all enjoyed looking back on clips of, that Everton kind of 2006 to 2013, when he left, the teams that he created then, the players that we had, like Tim Arteta, Tim Cahill, Steve Pienaar, Leighton Baines, he's not inheriting that team. That team's it's a different team, different people, different personnel. If I'm being honest, probably a lot of the players don't have the character that half them players did have, what he instills in them. This is probably more going to be like what it was like in 2002 when he first walked through the door for the first time, when he inherited the team that was 16, just been dumped out of the FA Cup. I have major question marks over it in terms of its age, its identity, the performances, what we were seeing on a weekly basis. And again, Moyes come in, he settled things down, but there was bumps in the road in early on in this time. That first half of that run was at 10 games I think he took charge of in that season, or 9 games. There was results that were good, there was results that were bad, but he got the job done. And I think that's the big thing in all this. It's not going to be a quick fix. David Moyes is not going to come in tonight and Everton all going to start playing the football that we saw them play. 2010, 2011, 2012, 2012 with Stephen Pienaar, etc. It's going to take time, but what you do back him to do is get more good results than bad results, and Everton will be a different beast. And also the biggest thing for me in all this, he's got to make Goodison back to that fortress best that it once was, that he had at Hyundai. How many times would we just play, not a lesser team, but a mid-table team, and we'd win maybe 2-1 or 3-1 or 2-0. They were routine home victories. And you think this season, Everton have drawn a home at Fulham, drawn a home at Brentford, Their games they should be winning. Goodison should be a fortress. Moyes' big challenge is to get it back to the fortress that he made it into, because that can make all the difference in terms of staying up and going down.
Interesting comment, which we did touch on a little bit, but I don't think I mentioned it fully. So Teddy Dactyl Spontaneous again, what an actual name is that? Fantastic. He's basically said that he might not necessarily need to alter the playing staff too much, but he said he might just have a different approach when we've got the ball and we're going forward. He said that Dyche had no attacking plan. So I think in that respect, I might be wrong in interpreting this, but I guess it's probably just about getting men closer to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, say, who's playing up front, getting men further up the pitch.
Getting men in the box, because really haven't, how many times in recent weeks have we seen, crosses go into the box and there's no one there? That would be a big help, wouldn't it? We have people in the box. Yeah, I think that'll be. It's one of them, isn't it? It's not probably be as cautious as what Sean Dyche was. I think Sean Dyche was a very cautious manager. How he set teams up. I think it was about protecting the clean sheet, protecting the point that you start every match with. And I think we saw firsthand the good in that. You look at Arsenal away. I think we're decent defensively. Backs against the wall. Pickford makes a couple of good saves, but we were robust and we deserved to got a point. But then you see the limitations of it when you play like Forest at home and you go 1-0 down early doors. We don't really have a plan B to come back and attack and get back into the game. So yeah, I think it's about being less cautious, I think, for David Moyes than what Sean Dyche was, and actually having a go and almost taking the game to teams at times. Like tonight, start on the front foot, start high up the pitch, start as you mean to go on. Don't sit back, don't soak up pressure, really get going and really kind of get on the front foot. So that's what you want to see more than anything. You want to kind of see the shackles come off a little bit and a cautious approach to end it, to become a little bit more of a collective, getting on the front foot and trying to make things happen from the off.
One subplot, I guess, that we really do need to mention is that it is the return of Amadou Onana. I guess this is the first time that he's returning back to Goodison after his move. Do you expect him to get a good reception, or would you think it'll be lukewarm? I mean, I think he did an interview with the Mirror earlier in the week, and he did have positive things to say about Everton. So,
yeah, I mean, I think it might be lukewarm. I don't think he'll get the hero's reception that we've seen other people get when they come back to Goodison for the first time. But look, I mean, I think the big thing from all this with Amadou Onana is his sale to Aston Villa. If we're being honest, is probably the reason why Everton passed PSR, for last season. So, whether we like it or not, he probably claimed a major assist in that respect, and his sale probably helped in smooth over them things. So he's done his, I think we saw Sean Dyche at the end of the road. It felt like Amadou Onana at the end of the road that near Everton. He wasn't playing as much. He was clearly wasn't in Sean Dyche's thoughts. It was quite telling, wasn't it, that the three best performances we had during that 6-day period, of which we won 3 matches to preserve our Premier League status. He was on the bench for all 3. So, yeah, I think, we'll probably get perhaps a lukewarm reception. I don't think there won't be boos like you've seen for like when Ross Barkley made his return a number of years ago with Chelsea, and when we've come back with Manchester United. But I don't think we'll see the type of reception that someone like Stephen Naismith got when he returned with Norwich that time, when Goodison was one kind of all showed their appreciation. I don't think we'll see that level, but I think we'll probably see a lukewarm level, and it'll probably be quite fitting with it that he finally produces on the Goodison turf only for Aston Villa.
Some comments on Onana. So Scarpup Gaming says Onana should get a good reception. He played well for us. Dyche didn't use him correctly, and to be fair, I was probably one of Onana's biggest critics at the time, because I didn't particularly like his attitude. I think he got all the talent in the world, without a doubt, and I think he's certainly one of the popular players at Villa. But let's face it, his actual role within the Sean Dyche team was non-existent, and that's probably why we ended up, when he didn't play in those 5 games towards the end of the back end of last season, why we ended up winning and why he didn't play, because we didn't need him in that Sean Dyche setup, which is a shame when you think about it, because if you get an Onana on the ball and a couple of other players around him who could eventually have that end product and finish attacks off. He probably is a standout, and it's probably be improved at his time at Villa.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the big issue, wasn't it? Did Sean Dyche set Everton up in the best way to get the best out of Amadou Onana? And the answer is probably no. We played obviously a very different way. We played a very certain way. And he's gone to Villa, and I think he's been quite hit and miss at Villa, though, hasn't he? I think he's had good games. I think he's had some bad games, though. I don't think he's been.
I think he's been injured. He's been injured as well for a portion, because I was checking it out and thinking, oh, he hasn't even been getting in the team, and then I realised he was injured. So you can't blame him for that, I guess.
I mean, he'd be one of them, won't he? We'll probably never know in terms of how good Onana was or Everton, because we probably didn't see enough of him. I just look back like the games where he played Arsenal and Sean Dyche's first game, when he was probably the best player on the pitch, and there's a few of the games like that, but he never really kicked on him. We never saw that every week. It was always stop-start with him, wasn't it? He'd have one good game and maybe one bad, and then one good, one bad. And I just think in the end, Sean Dyche couldn't really find a place for him in his team, could he? The way we were set up, the way we were playing. So in that respect, if you've got that issue with a player who you can get 50 million for, knowing that you've got PSR issues and you probably need to sell someone, because I think, let's face it, we all knew, didn't we, going into last summer, that it felt like it was going to be Branthwaite or Onana have to be sacrificed for PSR reasons. And I think, again, we all would have said sell Onana and keep Branthwaite, which obviously whatever it managed to do. So that's testament to the club that they managed to get the best deal for Onana. That helped keep Jared Branthwaite and helped us be in a position to knock back United derogatory offers, to then obviously we get to the point now where Onana might be doing well at Aston Villa, but I think it's safe to say both clubs have probably moved on, and it'll be a case of we'll probably never know with Onana how good he truly was and what he could have went on to achieve at Everton.
Yeah, I think that's the general consensus in some of the comments here, that he's moved on now. He's not an Everton player, he's a Villa player. Emery FC does say, though, he'll be banging his chest and kissing the badge, no doubt. And Connor, that I'll never forgive him for that penalty miss in the quarter-final of the League Cup.
I think there's a few Everton fans who are still scarred from that penalty miss against Fulham.
I can't help myself. I bring it up every single time. Okay, let's get the all-important tactical question out the way. Is it going to be Moyes in a suit or Moyes in a tracksuit?
I think it'll be Moyes in a suit.
Okay, fair enough. That's okay.
Well, it's quite interesting. What a suit was press conference on Monday as well.
Yeah,
well, that was quite interesting. Yeah, I think it'll be Moyes in a suit tonight.
I mean, I don't want to ask you for a team selection because I just feel it's really tough for anyone to do that. I mean, you can give one if you want, because we're going to finish off now, but it's up to you. What do you think?
Well, I would go Pickford in goal, Patson at right back, Young at left back, Tarkowski, Branthwaite, Mangala, Guy, Ndiaye. Probably be Jack Harrison, Decore, and Calvert-Lewin. I think probably what we'll see.
Prediction. I gave my prediction on, was it Monday's pod? Yeah, I think I said.
But I'll tell you, just on one note, I'll tell you just very quickly. I'll tell you, I wouldn't be against seeing tonight playing Harrison Armstrong.
Yeah, interesting. I just got to jump in. Sorry, you're being questioned to be playing Jack Harrison. People are saying why are you playing Jack Harrison?
I agree, but I think David Moyes will probably appreciate his work rate a little bit more than maybe Jesper Lindstrom offers in that respect.
I'm sick to death of him playing on the right-hand side. He's not a right winger. If you're going to play him probably more in the centre. I mean, I still don't think his quality is good enough, but the problem that we've got is his final ball's so poor.
But so's Lindstrom, though, isn't it?
No, but we're relying on Harrison when he comes on to make something happen, or not when he comes on, when he starts to make something happen, and he's just not the player to do that. So if you're going to play him, either play him as the number 10 or maybe in a deeper lying role where he can work hard, or his attributes that make him a good player, where he'll probably be beneficial. But is he gonna oust Guy and Mangala from the team? Probably not. I mean, this is just the first game under Moyes, so there's a lot there's a lot that's going to happen and probably develop.
And like I can be saying before, the McNeil injury doesn't help this, does it? Because if McNeil was fit, then he's another option to go out wide, which means you've got another option to then maybe look to go somewhere else with Jack Harris in terms of, setting things up differently. So I just think on tonight's, the players who are available tonight, I think Moyes might just give the nod to Harrison over Jesper Lindstrom, but I don't think there's much in it, though, if I'm being honest. I don't think there's much in between the two of them playing. I think it's very much a case of much of a muchness.
I'm being told in the comments that Jack Harrison is not a centre midfielder, which I don't, disagree with, but he's not a right winger either. So I don't know where he plays. So let me and Connor know where you think Jack Harrison's better position is. Another comment, just let's go back to the Onana penalty. The Onana penalty was pretty much the exact same as Ndai's. It was, however, Ndai scored because he gave the keeper the eyes, and that is why it went in and Onana's didn't. I think we're done, Connor, because I've got to jump off and start producing another podcast. People are saying Harrison's best at left wing or left wing back. Harrison only ever performed on the bench. What do you make of that? Left wing back? That's surely not.
Be an interesting one, wouldn't it? But yeah, I don't know. Maybe more. I think maybe more Ashley Young at left wing back if we would have played wing backs than Jack Harrison, just because he's a bit more defensive minded in terms of having played full back. But yeah, I'm not too sure on Jack Harrison playing wing back.
No, I mean, he's just got no pace and he's got no productivity, like end product. Bit harsh maybe, but where me spoon says Harrison's best position is back at Leeds. So,
that's just a bit harsh, isn't it?
I did say that, yeah. Final thoughts then. I've just realised that me home lighting system has gone off. It was working. It was nice and bright, and now I'm really dark. So I've only just realised that. Yeah, we're both at the game tonight then. You're in a working capacity. I'm going and be sat in the lower Gladys. Guess just a reminder that this podcast, if you're only just joining, is YouTube only. It's not going to be uploaded to the audio platforms, unfortunately. So I do apologise about that. I guess final plug, Connor. Have you had a chance to watch the Ian Snowden interview yet with Chris Beasley? Another, I think it's episode 12 of Goodison Park, my own. It went up yesterday. Well received so far.
I did watch it, yeah. I mean, I've been fortunate to go to a couple of sportsman dinners over the years with Snowden, and he's good value. He's always, he's extremely good at recalling some of the stories that he's got, and he seems like one of them blokes, doesn't he? He was kind of in the thick of the action back in the 80s when there was ever a social event going on. For anyone who hasn't watched any of Beez's series, Chris's series, actually, it's well worth listening to. Not just obviously the David Moyes podcast, which we've done, a few months ago, but certainly, the recent ones. But yeah, Ian Snowden was good value. And I love the story as well towards the end about how he found out he was an ambassador, and he said, the chairman, Bill Kenwright at the time, phoned him and said he got, Graham Stewart's number. And he's like, I'm going to offer him an ambassador role. And he's like, you're not disappointed I'm offering you one? And he was just like, no, like good for him. And that's kind of just shows the type of guy that he was. But no, it's definitely well worth a watch or a listen, because it's another great piece in which you get a great insight into what it was like at Everton back in the 80s, and as a player who was involved in title winning side and stuff like that. But yeah, the whole series, if anyone who hasn't listened to it, is well worth listening, because there's some great guests, there's some great stories and some great insight into some great nights at Goodison Park.
Definitely, and they keep on coming. To be honest, me and Chris were in the studio on Sunday. We filmed another interview with a former player, and then I think we've got one lined up next week as well. So yeah, keep an eye out on the channel and the audio platforms for them. I think Chris at some point this week is going to reveal who Sunday's one was, and to be fair, it was a really, really good one.
Well, I was fortunate I was also in the office on Sunday and fortunate to meet the person.
You were?
And yeah, I think people will be in for a treat.
Okay, well, that is all for today's show. Thanks for joining. Please remember to give us a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Your support is always greatly appreciated. Some 5-star reviews on Apple and Spotify as well. Most importantly, enjoy the rest of your day. It's important that we do enjoy the day, because let's face it, Everton are playing this evening, and a win will go extremely far. to putting a smile on everyone's faces. Hopefully I'll see everyone there. I've been Ian Croll, joined by Connor O'Neill, and this has been the Royal Blue Podcast.